What up, y'all? This is Dominic 369 coming back at y'all for Occultism Unleashed, and today I'm teaching you guys how to harness the power of the new and full moon in your natal chart, your astrological chart, man. You know, people look to the new moon in the sky and they're like, oh, it's a new moon, it's a full moon. Well, first and foremost, the moon is always full. The new moon, the quarters of the moon, these are all created by your perception and ability to view the moon. But the power is always there. You know, when you look at your natal chart, if you have, the sun at 13 degrees Cancer, for instance, whenever the moon is at 13 degrees Cancer by transit, so say we had a new moon in Cancer yesterday and it occurred at 13 degrees, that would be the trigger point for the new moon in your chart, because the new moon occurs when the moon is conjunct with the sun, or the sun is conjunct with the moon. And the full moon occurs when the moon is opposite the sun or the sun is opposite the moon. And it goes both ways in your chart, because the sun and moon transit through your natal chart. They both go through your natal chart and hit on different planets in your natal chart. So that's important to know. Secondly, the new moon, if you're looking at your chart and you're born with the moon at like 13 degrees Cancer, and the moon today is 13 degrees Capricorn, that means there's a full moon in your chart. If the sun in your chart is at in your natal chart is at 13 degrees Cancer, and today the moon is at 13 degrees Capricorn, that is a full moon in your chart. So if you have Cancer on your third house of communication, in the moon in your third house and the sun in your 10th house, in your 9th house of higher learning and education by transit, that's the sun bringing conscious awareness to the house ruled by the moon, triggering that energy. With a new moon, you don't have all the details present. The collection of the light of the moon is zero. So it's not good to make new moves during the new moon. Wait till the moon gains a little bit of light, the first quarter, because then more information will be to your conscious awareness and your subconscious awareness, as the moon governs the subconscious mind. So when the moon is conjunct your sun in your chart, so if you were born and your sun is at 29 degrees Leo, when the moon goes to 29 degrees Leo, it hits your natal sun. That becomes a new moon and triggers a new moon energy within your chart. And with this energy, you would plan out ideas, but not necessarily launch them. This new moon energy allows you to really cultivate your ideas and get them going based on whatever house and sign that new moon is occurring in. And the full moon, with the full moon, the moon is bright. Everything is in your awareness. The sun is, bringing everything to the forefront for you. The full moon is a good time to execute, to get your name out there, to do things that you want to be known publicly. Especially if a full moon is in your first house or your 10th house. If you're experiencing that full moon by transit, or, just say if you got Libra rising and this month is going to be a full moon in Libra, it's going to be a good time for you to get out there publicly. Libra rules beauty, it rules jewelry, it rules music, it rules fashion, perfumes, fragrances, all things that have to do with high cultured living, expensive taste. you know, if the full moon is in Libra in your first house, that's when you really want to get your stunt and shine on. That's when you want to do your promotions, you know, of your own image. You know, so as you have the moon going through your chart, and you know, it's going to be in a different house for everybody. You know, when they say, oh, it's a full moon in Sagittarius, you know, it's going to be in a different house for different people. Because everybody has different rising signs and different degrees and things like that. But by you just knowing what house the full moon is going to occur in your chart, it creates the opportunity for you to utilize and harness that energy. For you to pull that in from the universe and highlight that house area in your chart. If the full moon is making aspects to any other planets in your natal chart, the houses ruled by those planets are going to be triggered also. During the new moon is a time where you don't have all the information available to you. You know, and the full moon is a time where you can also bring things to the end, because you know, by the collection of light, the fullness of light, all the information is in your awareness. You know, so it's good to make final decisions during the full moon. If you have the moon, whether it's the new or full moon, in your first house, if the moon is in your first house and the new or full moon, if it's occurring in your first house, it deals with the self. The second house, it deals with your personal values and self-worth. The third house is going to highlight your siblings. You know, how you communicate, your mind state, things going on in your community and local neighborhood, especially the area where you grew up. The fourth house, if you got a newer full moon popping off in your fourth house, you may have issues with your home. It's a good time to highlight your home, make improvements on your home, you know, or just take time to have some privacy at your house, or, you know, get the business clear with your dad, because the fourth house rules your father. If the newer full moon is in your fifth house, you're talking about gambling. You're talking about, you know, romantic booty call relationships, short-term relationships. You're talking about gambling. You're talking about investments, you know, how you promote yourself. If it's occurring in the sixth house, these things are affecting your health, the services you provide to the world. You know, maybe your dealings with your landlord and your pets, because the sixth house rules pets that are small, under the size of horses. The seventh house, you're talking about your marriage, long-term relationship, you know, people that you seek advice from, open legal matters. You know, all these things are ruled by the seventh house. When you had a full and new moon in the eighth house, you're talking about other people's money, the resources of your spouse, dealing with issues with debt, loans, taxes. You know, you got the full moon in your eighth house and you're looking to file a mortgage. That's when you file for that loan, when that full moon in the eighth house, as long as it ain't no bad aspects to your second house ruling and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that go into finding the right time to seek loans and things like that. And that's a branch of astrology called elective astrology. Again, like medicine and law, there's many branches of astrology, and it's forever learning. But ninth house is dealing with higher studies, long distance travel. I find often that, you know, when the moon is in my ninth house, I end up going out of town. You know, or splurging on a bunch of books. That's just how I do. 10th house have to do with your career, your place in the world, you know, the benefits you gain from believing in yourself, because the ninth house is the house of faith and belief. So again, when it's in the full moon, new moon in the ninth house, you really want to check on your belief in yourself and your wishes. Ninth house is that magic house I be telling y'all all the time. 11th house, you're looking at your, you know, full new moon there. You're looking at socialization, you know, friends you kick it with just to hang out. You're looking at the money you get from your job, your hopes and wishes, any organizations you in. If you're in a fraternity, whether it's the Masons or Kappas or sorority or thing like that, Elks Club, you know, all these things, areas that are ruled by the 11th house are going to be highlighted when the full moon occurs in the 12th house. It's time for you to take a break. Fall back. Get yourself together up here. The 12th house is where we retreat from the world. You know, you got a new moon in the 12th house and you want to lose weight. 12th house is the house of losses. And not every loss is bad. You know, so when you're harnessing this energy in your chart from the new and full moon, you only really need to know what house that's going to occur in your chart. And you're going to have the information you need to use that planetary energy. And again, like I said in the first part, you also want to pay attention to the new and full moons in your chart. So if you were born at 12 degrees Sagittarius, for instance, that's your sun. The sun is at 12 degrees Sagittarius. 12 degrees Gemini is when you personally will have a full moon in your chart. When the transiting moon is conjunct your sun, you will have a new moon in your chart. Utilize the energy. Utilize the energy. The moon travels the fastest through your chart, so it goes through the houses the most. You're going to get a new moon and a full moon, not just in the sky, but in your chart twice, once a month for each. Those are power opportunities that you are failing to capitalize on. And remember, I told you guys in the moon magic video, the subconscious is ruled by the moon. The moon rules your drive and need. It kind of governs what your soul got to do while you here. And everything else is a conscious, the sun sign is a conscious projection of how you manifest the, energies of your soul as given in your moon sign. So it's my hope that y'all really take advantage of this information and start studying your chart. Pay attention to where the moon is in your chart. It's the most important, not your sun sign. I promise you.